at the start of whenever we did this, which just so everyone knows, we've been doing this podcast now for over 2 years, which is I think a little crazy. I don't know if you ever thought we'd be doing this for 2 years, Charles, but
No,
we've
a
been
lot
doing
is
it.
yeah, it's crazy.
But I would have never thought we would do a whole episode on soccer.
I ain't in the mood, I ain't hit the groove, I ain't hit the mood.
What is up, everybody? It is the No Notes. Oh, golly, it's not No Notes. Oh, it's A Win is a Win podcast. I'm so sorry, everyone. I said that because today it's only Charles and myself recording, and so it brought back all those memories, like the usual crew, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say you need to apologize to Sam if anyone.
Yeah. I think I just said that because I think as you guys can see, and for those of you who are listening, Sam Cookie isn't here this morning. There was a little bit of conflicts in kind of my schedule, and then with Sam's kind of in the morning, and just this afternoon, my schedule is just crazy busy. Um, so we always I go to church like every Sunday and stuff, and Sam's been trying to do more of that stuff too, and there were some conflicts, and instead of just canceling the pod, Sam was generous enough to let us do the pod today, and we let him go to church, and which is awesome. So sorry for that mix up. It is a win podcast, not no notes. But we definitely don't have any notes today for sure. At least I don't. Just because we have a lot of good topics today, and what we're mostly going to talk about is soccer today, and kind of more our teams, as in probably Bayern Munich and Newcastle, and then Charles with Brighton. And we'll just talk about the different European competitions, what games we've liked, what games we haven't, maybe some teams we like, some teams we haven't, etc. So yeah, I do have to say though, just this is the only non-soccer thing I'll probably say today, hopefully. Um, but the Diamondbacks are looking pretty good. They beat the Dodgers yesterday, 11-2. Merrill Kelly was starting. I think Zach Gallen pitches on Monday or something like that. And based off how the rest goes and everything, we'll be able to have Zach Gallen and Merrill Kelly pitch 4 out of the 5 games if it goes 5 games. So currently up 1-0 on the Dodgers, so I can't complain. So we're just gonna see how long this ride lasts, you know.
Yeah, and Martin, when he joined us, picked the Dodgers to make the World Series, and I told him, I mean, I know it's one game, but I told him you can't trust the Dodgers because, and he even said it in our group chat last night. Dave Roberts is a phony manager, so I was like, why'd you pick the Dodgers to go to the World Series? You know they ain't making it. They're gonna choke somehow. So off to a good start in that prediction, because the rest of my prediction, at least on the AL side, was not very good. So we don't have to talk about that. But how about real quick? How about all the wild card series going? None of them went 3. All of them were sweeps. How about that?
Yeah, that was pretty wild. I mean, I'm not too upset that the Diamondbacks swept, but my
Makes
buddy,
sense.
he flew to Milwaukee for a conference this last week when the Diamondbacks were playing in Milwaukee, and his wife is from Arizona and stuff, and I'm an Arizona fan, so they're actually Red Sox fans, like his wife's family, and so he's a Red Sox fan. But he knew that I was a Diamondbacks fan, and he was like, if Milwaukee and the D-backs go to a third game, like I'll be able to go to the game. And I was like, okay. I was like, honestly, I hope it doesn't go to third game, but it would be cool if you could see it. Thankfully, it didn't go, and he was like, yeah, it kind of sucked. However, he did meet someone from the Diamondbacks, and the hotel where he was staying was a hotel that the Diamondbacks were actually staying at. So I don't think he saw any of the other players, but
Yeah.
pretty cool little thing. I mean, even though you didn't get to see him play, it is cool that you're like, oh yeah, I stayed in the hotel that the Diamondbacks did, you know. So I think that's still pretty cool.
Yeah, it's kind of like how Martin said yesterday, a couple of the South Dakota State, I believe that's who Missouri State was playing,
I think
which
so.
was one of my exciting games. didn't turn out as well. But they went into his restaurant to eat after the game. So, and Martin got to talk with the cornerback a little bit, so that was really cool to hear.
I know I did give a little plug, say, hey, ask him to be on the pod, and Martin said he was going to ask, but it looked like
Yeah.
that it wasn't the right time or too intense of a conversation.
So it was North Dakota State also. My apologies. And they, yeah, like I said, they trounced Missouri State, but yeah, that was cool to see. I do have one quick thing to say before we jump into this. I've honestly I think I've come up with a slogan for MattyB Bets, because Matt went 0 for 4 again on picks for college football yesterday. His track record is really building up in the wrong way. So I'm going to start calling MattyB Bets building up a track record with all the wrong bets. So you got to start getting some bets right for me to change the slogan, but I don't know what's been up with you. Every time we've done this, pretty much it's been almost all wrong.
It's weird. It's like literally like I'm like, you know what? I like this team. This is where I like them, and then they're like, "Cool, I'm gonna lay goose egg," and it's like, bro, like, what are we doing? And then when I don't do stuff, like whenever I'm like, okay, yeah, I would probably bet this, like off the camera, it actually works. So I have to like put them in the chat like a couple weeks and see if I can get some traction, and then come back on.
Yeah, I got to see some traction. Just the track record hasn't been the best, but
I know.
hey,
No,
that's what betting is. You were close, man. I mean, the Maryland points, they lost by 20 and the spread was 19.
I know.
The rest of them though were all, you picked the wrong team to win essentially, so you're doomed from the start. So, yeah.
Well, the thing is I guess I did say Texas to win, but I think if you take like the points, if you say I'll take Texas with the points, I think it means that you just take them to cover. Does that make sense?
Right.
So technically, did Texas cover? Yes. Or did Oklahoma cover? Oh, actually, no. Texas did not cover because they didn't win.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, they didn't win.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, it's all right. You got next segment or next MattyB Bets to rebound.
It's okay. I'm gonna try my best.
Yes. Hey, real quick, you had national championship flyer Texas only if they beat Oklahoma. So you did give that warning, because now I'm sure their odds have obviously plummeted a lot because of that. But you did.
I did say only if they beat Oklahoma.
You said you should put a bet on them if they beat Oklahoma. Actually, so it's almost like you kind of had maybe a fear of it. So, but you're like, I do think they will. This is what you said. I remember you said, if they beat Oklahoma, which put your money on right now that they will. But if they do, I would put odds on them for winning the national championship. So that's what you had said. So like you still said you should bet on them to win, but you're like, don't do it for national championship yet. So I guess you were, I don't know.
There we go.
Yeah. But yeah, all right, I'm ready.
Perfect. So that was a longer intro, but I think it was great because this topic that we're going to do might not be as long as maybe some of our other ones. So it could be a shorter episode, but that's okay. I don't know, what should we start with? Our two topics for today are basically going to be the UEFA Champions League and Europa League. Maybe potentially some of like our league stuff, probably not. But we're kind of mostly focusing on the things in Europe. And we can probably do some of the like the England Cups, like the Carabao Cup, that Brighton was in and stuff like that, and same with Newcastle. But where would you like to start, Charles? Do you want to start in Europa League or Champions League, or?
Let's start with Europa. Let's work our way up.
Okay. So you take the floor then, Europa League.
I will take the floor.
What your understanding of it is, how it's gone for you, like, because you're a first timer. This is your first like actual like time watching European competition, all that kind of stuff. So tell us how it's been.
Yeah, it's been really cool, I would say. I feel like the energy in the crowd is a little different when you're in Europe. And so that's been really fun. Of course, I feel like, I mean, I don't know if I've noticed much of a difference from normal. I would say Premier League games, because honestly, man, they take soccer it's so passionate over there in Europe, like just all across. Like the Premier League games are crazy, honestly. They're really loud, and I love all the chants during the game. So I don't know if I can necessarily sense much of a I would say that that first Brighton game at home might have been the loudest I've heard, though, because I do think it was their first time. But still, I mean, it's just the passion for soccer over there. It's so crazy, but really cool to see. I mean, Matt had to explain all this to me. I remember it was the end of last season, like in May, because when you look on Google, it says it has a little dashes kind of on the left of color, assuming. And if you look down, then the key, it said like Europa League qualifier, and then the Champions League qualifier. And I was like, what is all this? And you were explaining it to me, because I thought it was like almost like postseason in American sports, where you just, once the season's over, you go into it. But Matt was like, no, it goes into next season, and you play it like during the seasons. So it's almost like a mini season. And I remember thinking, well, we're not gonna have the same team, because obviously we lost guys in the transfer window and stuff. So I almost said transfer portal. That's pretty popular in American college sports right now. Anyways, yeah. So I thought that you would keep like I'm not the biggest fan of it being in the next year, because I was like, I want to keep the team that got us there, at least have them have a chance. But with how it's set up, there's so many games, because you play a minimum of 6 games and so obviously in soccer, that'd be a lot of games already on a whole season. And so it was just all confusing to me, but I've gotten used to it, because it's still just cool to see kind of how many different side tournaments outside of your league that you can be in, almost, because you've got, like you said, this cup. I still don't even know exactly what it is, but I just know Brighton lost in it. But that's like another side thing outside of the Premier League, and then for Brighton, Europa. And so there's probably going to be, I think there's another one too that's probably later in the season. So it's cool to see. But yeah, I'm gonna jump right into how Brighton has performed in the Europa, because that's my team. First time in Europe, like I said, I feel like I'm the good luck charm. Although Europa hasn't gone off to the best start, but we were at least able, in our second match, we played Marseille, which is actually the team I root for with my sister, because she loves France and wants to move there in the future. So we picked Marseille together. And so it's kind of funny that Marseille and Brighton are in the same group. So it'd be cool if they got the top 2 spots, but we'll see. Anyways, Brighton came back from 2-0 after they'd lost their first match, and it looked like they might be dead in the water. They came back and forced a tie, it showed a lot of resilience and kept them in it. But they're currently in last, because they have no wins, 1 draw, 1 loss. Marseille and Ajax both have tied, so they're just a little bit ahead. And then Athens, who we lost to, tied and has a win. And I think Brighton, we haven't and our last Premier League game didn't go very well either. And right now we're losing. So I just don't know if maybe we're still trying to, because we were off to a really hot start, and even Matt was thinking we're going to win our group. I just wonder if maybe we're, still a little nervous. I know Evan Ferguson was out with an injury, and he's an important piece. Maybe trying to fit in the new pieces still that we got, like Ansu Fati. But I will admit, I think at least this game against Marseille, getting a tie was a really big win. Because I think if we lose that game, we're probably not getting in the top 2, I would assume, which is what you need, obviously, to advance. But I think that tie was a really big moral victory. I still wonder just if maybe there was nerves, because I don't know. It didn't seem like Brighton necessarily. Both our goals were off penalties, which we will take, but normally Brighton can get some more than that. And obviously, and then in our next Premier League game, we lost like 5-1. So it just hasn't been the best performance as of lately from us. And so I'm hoping we can turn it around. I still believe, but I think obviously Ajax is a really, really tough opponent. And I was actually going to look up their score with Athens, because I actually don't know what it was, which is the other 2 teams in our group. Oh, it was 1-1. So they obviously, like I said, they tied. Yeah, I'm hoping that they can get. I don't know. Like, why do you think that they've been maybe on a little bit of a slump? Do you think it's nerves, extra games, new new players, combination of all of it? What's your thoughts?
I mean, I would say it's definitely a combination for sure, but I think playing new games and especially the pressure of, oh, this is our first time in Europe, like, and we're expected to, actually do something. Like, not like that's a bad thing. It's just if you think about it, the last couple years, everyone hasn't really picked Brighton to do a lot, right? Like they've always come out of nowhere, like, oh, like they were in 11th and then they were in 8th and then they were in 6th, right? Like for the Premier League, right? And so with this, I think having the Premier League, you're really starting off strong. I think they're in 4th right now currently. Oh, well, how about this? They were in 4th before the weekend's game because obviously Brighton hasn't played as many games as other people. But anyways, so there's that. I think also playing European nights is a little different, and then not only that, because Brighton qualified, now you're in 4 competitions. Because in England you do 3 side tournament. You can be eligible for 3 side tournaments plus your league, right? In the Premier League, there are 20 teams. So you play 19 games home and away, like 19 home, 19 away. So you play 38 games. And then when you look at all those other games, you're guaranteed at least 6 in Europe. So that makes it 44 plus at least a game in both of those other 2 things. So you're at a minimum of 46 games because you went to Europe. So that's an extra 8 games. And that's a lot, and that's without doing anything, right? And then I think when you're expected to kind of do well, I think sometimes expectations can cause teams to maybe underperform a little bit, or when things aren't going their way, it's almost like we hit it into panic mode instead of, hey, we're only down a goal, like it's not that bad, or oh, okay, we're only down 2, right? Where if there's no pressure, Brighton's probably like, all right, we're gonna go out and we're gonna do what we do. We're gonna win. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do that, right? So I think there's that, and then I do think with the new signings, you have to integrate them, and I think that is a little challenging sometimes, right? The integration, because it's like, okay, how do you play? How do you play? Where do you want the ball? Like, I know for my adult league, we have a guy, his name is Riker and stuff. He's really good. He's a striker, but like, I know where he wants the ball. I know how he plays after, we've played now 8, 9 games, something like that already. So it's like, okay, like I know that he wants the ball here doing this. Okay, perfect. So I think there's some of that too. And like you said, you did lose some of your key pieces in the midfield, like Caicedo and McAllister, but you did get some good players like Ansu Fati, who's really good. You have João Pedro, who came from Watford, who's pretty good. So right, so I think there's that goes on, and so I feel like these first 2 games, I think Brighton tie at Marseille, I think, is great because if you can go away and get a point, that's awesome because right, the home team is supposed to win or do better, right? So that's good. When they played Athens, I could see they were a little nervy, I think because it was their first time ever having a European night, because the Carabao Cup and the FA Cup aren't considered European nights because all you do is play English teams or UK teams pretty much. So I think that one, they were a little nervous. But overall, I'm not really too worried. Like, so Ajax is doing okay this year. They're not as great as they usually are. So if there's any year to kind of have Ajax in your group, I think this is the year. And I think if you just tell them like Brighton, like, hey, like tell the team, hey, if we win these next 2 games, we are set up great to advance. Like if we get a point and a draw, I mean, if we get a draw and a win, we're still set up great. That's 4 points. We'd be on 5 points, all like that, right? So, and they're super close. I mean, Ajax, Marseille, and Brighton are all 1 point away from each other, right? 2 points for Ajax, 1 point for Brighton and them. I mean, so they're in it. I mean, even Athens, I mean, if you beat them, right? I mean, so there's all this stuff. So I like where Brighton is. I don't think they're like, you know, done for, but they definitely, I think these first 2 games and kind of all that stuff has been an acclimation period. Now it's like, okay, we've been acclimated, we kind of know what to expect. Now let's play the way that we play and go win.
Yeah, I think like I said, this is also just really good experience down the road, but it won't matter too much if we lose a bunch of the players that are on this team in transfer. But I'm not gonna go there yet. That's a while away. Yeah, the Brighton's next. So obviously they're playing Liverpool right now, which is a big game because Liverpool is one of the best in Premier, and they normally are. So if we can, we have them right now. Then we have a break, and then we play the next weekend. We play Man City, and then we go against how do you say it again? Because I keep saying, I want to say Ajax. I know that's not right.
Ajax.
So then we play our Europa game at Ajax. So we have a tough little schedule right now, and we're starting at our right now. So 2 of the best teams in the Premier League, and then our next Europa, which is a big one. So this is going to be a big stretch to kind of see how we are, because we are right now, we're 6th in the Premier League. We slid a little bit. If we lose these next 2, we're gonna slide probably into the 10, maybe like 10 or so. So, but of course, against some of the best teams, and then maybe pick up wins against easier teams. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, now that that there's expectations, I can't say it's as magical as last year, because last year no expectations, right? And so it was like, oh, Brighton's in 5th right now, like this is awesome. But if we were in 5th now, you'd be like, I kind of expect that. So not as much Cinderella.
If Brighton made it to the last 16 in Europa League, and let's say won a tie, so they beat, whatever, and we're in the last 8 in Europa League, would you say that's a magical season for you? In that
Honestly, sense? Yes. I think making it to the round of 16, I would, the knockout stage, and then honestly, if they were to advance at least once, I think that would be really cool. Just to see them in the round of 16, because the only real soccer I've watched before this was World Cup. The round of 16 knockout stage was always like when I really was focused and invested, because it was just like a different level. So if Ryan could make it to that'd be awesome. But if they get, like you said, this is a whole nother wrench about Europa. If they get 2nd, they have to play a Champions League team that got 3rd in their group and like a whatever knockout things to even get there. So that would be cool too, honestly, if we played a Champions League team, but gotta get top 2 at least. So we'll see.
That is true, and that is something that I think is super important to kind of realize is, okay, like we need to up our game a little bit,
Yeah.
We kind of have to do this. So,
by the way, can someone stop Tottenham from winning? Because it's annoying. Real quick, I was gonna say, who do you like outside of Brighton? Just a quick, who do you like to win Europa? Who are some of the teams so far that have looked really good to you, if you have any?
Bayer Leverkusen, aren't they in Europa, or are they in the conference one?
I
think in Europa.
I don't know, honestly. Let me look it up. How do you spell it?
Bayer.
Okay.
Bayer.
Yeah.
And then just do Lever, and it should come up.
Okay, yep, there they are. They are in, let's see. They're in Europa, yeah, you're right.
Same competition as Brighton, right?
Yeah, looks like it. Let me find them on the Europa official website.
Okay. So you keep looking for that. I also like West Ham United. I think
I found them. There they are.
Are they in the same thing?
Group H, yeah.
Okay. So I like West Ham, but honestly, my team for sure, outside of I think the teams in Brighton's group, because I think Marseille, Ajax, Brighton, I think all are probably some of the better teams in Europa League. I think Bayer Leverkusen, I think, is by far and away the best team in the whole competition right now. Granted, that's without knowing who the Champions League teams are that are coming down. So I don't know, you know. But if I
Yeah.
had to put money on it right now without like a blind guess, I would do Bayer Leverkusen.
Dude, they look really good. They're off to a really good start in Bundesliga too.
They're off to a good start in Bundesliga. They're off to a good start in Europa League. So they have a coach named Xabi Alonso who used to play for Bayern, played for Real Madrid, I believe. Also played for Liverpool. He's such a good manager, and they have a great team. So for me, it's Leverkusen. For me, is just they're playing really good football right now.
They do play their next one in their group, that also the other 2-0 team, which Karabag, maybe. I don't know exactly how you say it.
Yeah, I have no idea.
But they're also 2-0 in the group, and those two will go head to head next match. So we'll see how that goes, because that'll be a good one then. So
I agree. Yeah, no, but they just are so good. Like,
yeah, I looked at the Bundesliga standings, and I see Bayern in 5th, and I'm like, whoa! And they haven't even lost. That's the thing; they only have drawn a couple, I believe. It's just these other teams have only drawn like once, so they're just ahead.
yeah, if Bayern win today, then they'll go back up to third. But
You think? Never mind. We'll talk about that later. Yeah, you go ahead. You go and let's go to champions now.
it's okay. Are you going to ask me if I think Bayern will win the league this year?
I actually was going to.
I'm not as confident as I usually am.
Man, last year was a real close one, if we remember, and Dortmund sold last game of the season.
How about this? We should have beaten Leverkusen, and that hurt. So we'll see. Because Stuttgart is also playing really well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because let's see. Because what? Stuttgart is in first with 18 points. Is that right?
I was actually looking at the right now it's Louvre with 19. I don't know if it's because they're playing right now and it's counting it as a win.
Okay, yeah. They're doing the live standing. So Leverkusen is 19, Stuttgart is 18,
Yes.
and then Bayern is 14.
Yes.
Yeah.
Dortmund is 17 also.
Yeah. So
it's gonna be, I don't know. We'll see.
yeah, no. This season will be it'll be interesting. So we'll see. Hopefully Bayern can do it, but no, I see Bayer Leverkusen is definitely a challenger, and Dortmund, those two, and Leipzig, those three teams. Yeah, so we'll see. But
Hey, like I said real quick, also, it's freaking Tottenham's in first, and they haven't even lost yet once. I feel like Sam wouldn't even know that, but they need to stop right now. They're off to too good of a start. I don't want to see them get in the top in the Premier League, so I'm not happy about that.
same.
All right, I'm ready though. Champions.
All right, so Champions League. I have two teams in the Champions League. I have Newcastle and Bayern. We'll talk about Bayern first because they're probably not in the exciting group that Newcastle is in. But this is also kind of expected for Bayern. So Bayern has 6 points. We have 2 wins, a 4-3 win versus Man United, and a 2-1 win versus Copenhagen. The Copenhagen one was real close. The Man United game was not, even though the scoreline was. Bayern was actually down 1-0 to Copenhagen at Copenhagen, and we ended up winning. I think it was Leroy Sané scored, and then Matthijs Tel scored. And for Copenhagen, I think this is the last time a European, like a big club like won in Copenhagen or whatever. I think it was like 2013 or 14, something like that. Basically, you either draw or lose there. It's just a tough place to play. So knowing that Bayern played and beat them there is really good. So we're at 6 points. The surprise of the group is Man United has 0. So they've lost to Bayern Munich and Galatasaray. That's surprising. So
Overrated.
basically, and it seems like, I mean, Man United's just getting clowned on right now, which is kind of funny. But yeah, kind of wild, very interesting what's happening on there. Don't really know what's going to happen, but that's interesting. Also, Bayern has not lost a Champions League group stage match, and I think it's 36 games, I think is what it is. So, and I think our record is 33 wins and 3 draws, I think. So, which is a record. So, we keep adding to that. Like, it's wild. It's like, as a Bayern fan, like, I know, okay, like, we're going to qualify for the round of 16. It's just who are we going to play? Like, that's basically what it's been, because you play 6 games, right, every time. If Bayern, because Bayern still have 4 games left, so if they win out, right, it'll be 40 games, which means that'll be basically almost 7 years they haven't lost a Champions League group stage game.
That's crazy.
I think is wild.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah. So,
hey, so they literally have been 6-0, like in every.
Well, not 6-0 because
draws. Sorry, I forgot about draws.
There have been 3 draws, but I mean 33 wins. So I mean you're pretty much 6-0 every time.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So
bro, we need to get like freaking Man City in their group next year or something. Give them maybe a challenge.
No, please.
To end the streak.
So pretty interesting. So there's that. But that's kind of the team I want to talk about. I want to talk about Newcastle. Newcastle is in a group that has been dubbed the group of death. In Newcastle, in their group, you have Newcastle, Paris Saint-Germain, AC Milan, and Borussia Dortmund. And it's been a good game so far. Newcastle drew with AC Milan, I believe it was 0-0. And then they beat PSG just this past week 4-1. It was at Newcastle. So huge win. Right now, Newcastle is in first with 4 points. AC Milan is in second with 2 points. PSG in third with 1. Borussia Dortmund with 0. The next game we play is Borussia Dortmund. We play them twice. So huge win against PSG. It sets up Newcastle really well. Because those teams are pretty even. Yes.
I just have to say, Brighton has tied it against Liverpool 2-2. Sorry.
Yo,
81 minutes now. So just want to say that.
Who scored?
Lewis Dunk.
Oh, I think he's a defender for you guys.
I was gonna say, I'm pretty sure that's a defender, but
yeah, sorry. Corner.
I'm learning the team. I'm still learning. I got some work to do, but
hey, 2-2, a draw against Liverpool. Would you take that?
Honestly, yeah, I would. Although they scored 2 goals within 5 minutes, which makes me not really happy. But
are they playing it at Brighton? Or are they playing at Anfield at Liverpool?
I think it's at Liverpool because on Google, Liverpool's on the right side. I don't know if they make that the home team or not. But let me look it up for you while you talk about Newcastle.
Yeah. So Newcastle just demolished PSG, and they've been looking really good. Newcastle actually is now ahead of West Ham. They're up 2-1 last time I looked. So we were down 1-0, and now we're up 2-1. So that's been good for us. But I'm pretty stoked because Newcastle has 4 points, and that sets them up well. So that, like, I think to get out of the group, I think in this group, I think you need probably 7 points, I think is what you need. I think that's the minimum. Yes, Charles?
No, sorry. I was just itching my beard.
Oh. I thought you had something. I was like, oh, my guy has something to say. I think 7 points is what you need to get out of the group. Maybe 6, just because all those teams theoretically should tie each other unless there's some magic, right? The weakest team in that group, I would say, is Borussia Dortmund, but they're really not that weak. They just for some reason aren't playing like the best. And oh, I lied to you guys. Actually, PSG is in last. Dortmund actually has 1 point, I believe, in the group.
I can pull it up for you.
Yeah, I think
Dortmund,
Dortmund
no,
is,
PSG has 3 points. They won
oh
the
yeah,
game.
3 points. I'm so stupid. Yeah, they beat
Dortmund has 1 and they're in last.
1, and AC Milan has 2, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it goes 4-3-2-1. Yeah, I'm so silly. Sorry, I don't know what I was thinking there. But I think Dortmund is probably the weakest team in that group, and they're not even really that weak. So our thing is, we've already played AC Milan on the road. If we could get a point at Dortmund, I would be happy, and that would really set us up. Because then we have a game at home against AC Milan, a game at home against Dortmund, and if we win one of those, I think we're in.
Mm-hmm.
I really do. And then if we somehow got a point at Paris Saint-Germain, I think that'd be great. So we're setting ourselves up. We're doing great. Actually, I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say you're gonna need 8 points or more to get out of the group. 8 points or more, I think. Just looking at it. So they've been good games. And I mean, and if you're a soccer nerd, the stadiums in that group are like some of the most iconic stadiums, because you have the Parc des Princes, which is in France, which is an iconic stadium. You have the San Siro, which is a iconic stadium. And then you have Signal Iduna Park in Dortmund, which is home of the Yellow Wall, which is iconic. And then you have St. James Park, which is also one of the more iconic stadiums in England. So, I mean, it's just a great group, good games. I mean, there's never a bad game. I mean, Newcastle, Dortmund, Newcastle, AC Milan, Newcastle, Paris Saint-Germain, not a bad game. Dortmund, Milan, Dortmund, Paris, right? You just do all, like, there's not a bad game. Like, that's one that you want to watch every single time.
I know those other 3 teams. Like, that is a really strong group. I would say Newcastle, it's kind of a Cinderella run right now in its own way, because like you said, the group of death. And I just want to say, ever since that Brighton loss, which you and I put a little wager on, Newcastle has looked really, really good. They have not lost since, and they've beaten some very good teams. And right now, they are currently up against West Ham in the 86th minute. So because we played you guys right before the break, the European break. I don't know what happened. Maybe the manager ripped into them or something on that. Maybe they went Aaron Rodgers mode. Something during that break got them on track, because since then they've looked really good and they've beaten quality opponents. They've beaten Man City. Obviously, they drew against Milan. They beat PSG. They're about to probably, hopefully, hold off West Ham, who's no slouch. So they've been playing really good. So I like their chances to advance in the champions. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's all about form, like what you're doing in your domestic stuff. And right now, they're playing well. They're gritty. They were down 1-0 to West Ham. I think they're up 2-1, right?
They are up 2-1, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, they're up 2-1 on West Ham right now. I mean, so I think just seeing that, like, hey, we can be down, but we'll do okay, all that kind of stuff. So I'm pretty stoked, pretty excited for what Newcastle is doing. And I don't know, some people want to be like, oh, like, you're a Newcastle fan. Of course you are, because you're a Bayern fan, all this kind of stuff. But like, Charles knows, like, I picked them last year. I've kind of liked them. I know they finished 4th and stuff, but like, I don't know. They just always I've always kind of liked them a little bit. They have seahorses, like that's kind of like their little bad like emblem thing. If you look, it's actually having seahorses, which are pretty cool. And I like to scuba dive, so I don't know. It's pretty cool.
Hey, Matsy's in my theory for picking a team. I like it. Because obviously I picked Brighton because it's a seagull. Yeah, I was gonna say, I mean, Matt is talking a lot about Newcastle because they're in champions, and he should, but we all know, or at least I know, his favorite Premier League team is Brighton, because I know it's Brighton. He even said it after we beat him. He's like, honestly, I kind of like watching Brighton a little more. Maybe it was just that. Maybe it was just that game because Newcastle didn't play very well. But
terrible. But like,
yeah,
then I love watching Newcastle. I like watching both. Honestly, Brighton, I would say, is definitely like my team that I will root for against anyone except for Newcastle. Like if it's Newcastle, Brighton, I'll root for Newcastle. But everyone else, like if it's Brighton, Man City, I'll root for Brighton. Like why not? You know,
If it's Brighton Bayern and next year's Champions League,
I root for Bayern. I'm sorry.
that'd be awesome. I mean that's a long shot. I feel like, but that'd be awesome if we were in the same group in Champions. That'd be so fun.
It might be awesome because we get to watch it. I don't know if it'd be awesome for Brighton to be in that group with.
I think we could end that win streak, or at least that no loss streak. Essentially, I think we could end it. All right, I was gonna say a couple things. They're playing at Brighton Amex. That's where Brighton plays, so it is at home, so that's important.
Yeah,
And then also, I was gonna say a couple of the teams I like in the Champions League. Obviously, Bayern has to be up there because they're a powerhouse in Europe, and obviously the statistic how many they haven't lost in a row is just absurd. But man, give me some of these teams in Spain, La Liga, Barcelona, Real Madrid. I don't know, they look good, honestly. So those are kind of teams I'm looking at too, as well as potential, and honestly, Man City too. Man City's kind of the king of the Premier League. They have been the last few years. So if you're the king of the Premier League, you've got to be a top contender for the champions, because obviously the Premier League is the best in Europe. But hey, Newcastle's been playing great. Let me get a flyer on Newcastle. I don't know what the odds are. I don't know what MattyB Bet's odds are on Newcastle, but give me a flyer.
Or
for them to win it all.
Oh, for them to win it all? Oh, bro, I don't know what those odds are. Let me
give me a flyer on Newcastle.
Okay, let me see what it says. Hold on. Okay. Also, I have been watching the David Beckham series on Netflix. Just this is soccer still. It's pretty dang good, not gonna lie.
Ooh. Oh no, West Ham tied it at the 89th minute. It's 2-2. Oh, okay. Nice. This will be a good one.
Let's see here. For Newcastle.
So both our teams right now are tied 2-2 in the 90th minute extra time.
Oh, I like how I said I went to win Premier League instead of Champions League. I'm so silly. Okay, to win Champions League, they are. I think this might have been like before everything. Oh no, it says current odds.
I was gonna say they might still just be disrespecting them.
Newcastle is plus 18.
Plus 18.
1800.
That's actually not as high as I thought.
Yeah, and then the ones that you like, Real Madrid is plus 750, Barcelona is plus 1100.
What's Bayern?
Plus 500.
Is that the highest? Or is Man City highest?
Man City plus 200, but Bayern is second.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Okay, what about Brighton to win Europa? Now I'm really curious. Okay. Let's just see. Honestly, though, winning Europa is, I would say, obviously Champions is higher competition, but in Europa, if you, for example, get second, you have to play a Champions League team to even get there. So that's honestly, I would maybe say more difficult than Champions, just because of the extra matches in that regard. Not saying the competition is better, obviously, but like you have to, obviously it's not forgiving. If you're not first, you have to play extra to get there, Oh,
also, I forgot that Liverpool was in Europa, so that's a team that I forgot to mention.
Yeah. I was going to say they're in Europa.
Liverpool's the favorite as of now, just because you don't have any of the Champions League teams, but they're at plus 300.
Of course, Champions League.
Bayer Leverkusen is third at plus 1400.
Oh, Matt likes those odds.
And then Brighton is at plus 1600. So they have the fourth best as of right now.
What? Even after their sloppy start? Wow. I think they put a lot of stock in the Premier League teams, obviously, because it's the best in Europe. So
Yeah.
Dang.
And what group is
Is what?
is Brighton in? What group?
Group B.
Group B. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, they're supposed to. The prediction is they both finish. Brighton and Marseille finish in the top two. So we'll see.
Okay. Okay.
But
Nice. Hey, I like that little bet on your favorite there, plus 1400. That's a little low.
that's a little low.
Yeah. All right, I think we're looking good, aren't we?
We are. We're at 45 minutes. Time to wrap it up, dog.
All right, I'll get us the outro because Matt hit us with the intro. Episode 36 of A Win is a Win, but we can say no notes edition because it is just Matt and I. So it's like the old days, talking about some good old football, aka soccer. I was gonna say something, but I'm not going to. I'll just tell Matt off camera because I don't want to get made fun of or clowned. But we hope you guys enjoyed. This was a fun one. I really enjoyed getting into soccer and following Brighton and Europa and champions. It's been really cool, and I'm glad I'm finally getting into the world's most popular sport. Matt's been waiting a long time for this, and I know he's psyched. And we just had an episode about it for 45 minutes, so I'd say that is a win for sure.
How about this? At the start of whenever we did this, which just so everyone knows, we've been doing this podcast now for over 2 years, which is I think a little crazy. I don't know if you ever thought we'd be doing this for 2 years, Charles, but
No,
we've been doing it.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But I would have never thought we would do a whole episode on soccer. Like, just gonna be honest, because at the time, like, I'd always ask you guys, like, hey, like, want to watch soccer, want to do this, and like, you'd come over for the World Cup, but like, you're like, no, not for me. And then I don't know how you got onto it, but one day you're like, it was I think when we did our league thing, the prediction of the leagues. Ever since then, you're like, you know what? Maybe I do want to maybe start.
Not even that, honestly. I mean, I remember you telling me about when Brighton had beaten like Man United early in the season, and I even was just kind of like, oh, okay. But it was like in April maybe of this year or something, and I just was like looking at the standings, and then when I saw how good they were and how they could potentially qualify for Europa, and when you started explaining it to me, ever since then, I just like, I don't know, I was like, clicked, it just clicked, and I was like, all right, let's see this. Because honestly, if Brighton was like bottom half, I don't know if we would be having this podcast right now. So I think it honestly took some success for Brighton to bring this on, because if Brighton was not doing very well, I don't think I would have been as interested. So shout out to Brighton for having a good season and turning themselves into a pretty good contender. So yeah, anyways, this was a win. Hopefully our teams, if we tie, I'd call that a win for our teams. So hopefully we don't choke, because both of our teams are about to be done in 2-2 games. But yeah, this is HDouble, MattyB. You'll see Sam Cookie next episode, but we are signing out.
Peace.